age 62, I never thought that life would still surprise me so much. It began on the farm like any other day. It was just another day. The fields were warmed by the sun's high rays, and a light breeze made me feel better as I did my chores. This farm has been my home for most of my life. Since my husband died, it has become my safe haven, but today was different. There was something in the air that I couldn't quite put my finger on. I had our nephew Justin, the son of my husband's brother, stay with me for a while and help me with the heavy work and make sure I was taken care of. When he was in his mid-20s, he was strong, good-looking, and really charming. Having him around was nice. We laughed and ate meals together. Before he came, I didn't know how much I missed hearing someone else's voice. There were times when I watched him for a little longer than I should have because he was so nice and interested. The next day, we moved hay bales and fed the animals together in the barn. His face was wet with sweat, and his shirt was sticking to his big body. I noticed how easily he did the work and how he moved with both confidence and grace. I couldn't help but notice how well his body fit with nature as he bent down to pick up another bag. I hadn't felt my heart beat so fast in years. During our break, we sat together and enjoyed the moment. At the end of the old wooden fence that looked out over the fields, the sky was pink and orange as the sun went down, giving everything a warm glow. Justin gave me a soft look that told me something I couldn't quite put my finger on. "Aunt Susan, you've done so much here," he said in a deep, earnest voice. The praise made me smile, but it made me feel a little bad. "I don't know how you do it every day." I tucked a loose hair behind my ear and said, "It's just life. It's what I know." Justin moved a little closer, and his arm touched mine. I felt a chill go down my spine when I touched his warm skin. That was the first time I really understood how close we were. When he looked at me for a long time, something changed. He didn't look at me like a nephew, more related to my husband. It was deeper, and it made my heart beat faster. There was a thick silence between us, full of words that were not said. I really wanted to say something to ease the strain, but I just couldn't. My heart beat faster than it had in years, and my mind was racing. Justin put his gentle hand on mine as if he could read my mind. His touch was electric, and it made my whole body feel warm. "Aunt Susan," he said in a whisper that was hard to hear. I don't know how to say this, but I've been feeling something I can't ignore. My throat dried up all of a sudden, and I swallowed again. My voice was shaking as I asked, "What do you mean?" His eyes locked on mine and were very focused and full of feeling. "I know we're family, but I've been drawn to you in a way I can't explain. I think about you all the time, the way you laugh, the way you carry yourself. There's something about you, Susan, something that makes me feel things I've never felt before." I had nothing to say. What the heck is going on? How could this young, lovely man who is my nephew be telling me these things? Still, I knew when I looked into his eyes, the feelings I had worked so hard to hide and avoid were coming to the surface. They were clear and could not be ignored. I don't know what to say, I said in a low voice to Justin. My mind was racing as I stuttered. He said in a soft voice, "You don't have to say anything. It was just that I needed to tell you how I felt. I didn't expect anything from you. I just needed to." We sat there in silence for a long time, with his hand still on mine. At that point, the sun had gone down, and the only sound was the wind blowing through the trees. My mind was full of thoughts and feelings, and my heart was beating fast. There were a lot of open questions and things that weren't said, but at that moment, none of it mattered. This moment, this feeling, and the sudden turn in my life were all that mattered. As soon as Justin's hand touched mine again, I knew we would face whatever came next together. The days that followed were strange. It was like the world outside the farm had disappeared, leaving us and our feelings in a bubble that we couldn't fully explain. Even though Justin kept helping with the jobs, we still hadn't talked about it. It felt like lightning was running through every touch and look. The last apples of the season were being picked by us one afternoon under the trees. The field was lit up by bright light from the high sun. Justin stood next to me with apples in his arms. It was so hot that his shirt was stuck to his skin. After I looked at him, we both stopped moving for a moment. There was a strain in the air between us because of a desire that neither of us could deny. He took a step closer and said, "Susan." His voice was low and husky. "I can't stop thinking about you, about us. This is crazy," I said in a whisper, struggling to speak. "We shouldn't feel this way, but we do," he said, his voice full of feeling. "And I don't want to fight it anymore." Before I could answer, Justin gently cupped my face and closed the small space between us. The kiss between our lips was so soft and uncertain, like a question that was still to be answered. I felt warm all over, and all the reasons why we shouldn't be gone at once. Why did it matter? Because I loved the way his lips fell on mine. As his arms wrapped around me and pulled me closer, the kiss got stronger. I put my hand on his shoulders and could feel how strong he was. I kissed him back with a fire I didn't know I still had. His lips were soft and warm, and they had a faint apple taste to them. I felt like I was melting into him. Every touch and action sent chills down my spine. We only split up when we stood there, out of breath and our hearts beating fast. Before I looked up at him, a lot of things were going through my mind. I didn't feel sorry or ashamed when I looked into his eyes, though I felt alive, more alive than I had in years. I said in a whisper, "I don't want to stop." The strength of my words surprised me. Justin's face relaxed, and he smiled at me in a way that always made my heart skip a beat. He whispered, "Neither do I," and then leaned in to kiss me again. This time, the kiss was faster and stronger. He pulled me close, and his hands moved down my back. I could feel the heat coming from him. As I got my fingers tangled in his hair, the world around us went away, leaving me with him and this moment. As we stood in the late afternoon sun and kissed as if nothing else were there, we lost track of time. It was the perfect balance of tenderness and hunger when his lips touched mine. Every time we did, it felt like a spark woke up something inside me that had been asleep for too long. We were both out of breath when we finally broke apart. I put my face on his chest and could feel his heart beating quickly under my cheek. I felt safe for the first time in years as his arms wrapped around me. We watched the sun go down over the horizon together on the porch that night. The sky turned orange and pink as it did so. Justin had his arm casually around my shoulders, and his fingers were making soft circles on my skin. As I leaned into him, I could feel his chest slowly rise and fall. I broke the silence with a soft word. "I don't know what the future holds, but I know I don't want to face it without you." Justin looked at me with love-filled eyes. He gently tipped my chin down, and as his thumb ran over my bottom lip, I felt a chill go through me. "I feel the same way," he said in a low, personal voice. "I don't care about what anyone else thinks. I just want to be with you." But he kissed me again before I could say anything. His lips moved slowly against mine in a way that made my heart race. At first, they were soft, but then they got deeper. He put his hand on the back of my head and held me gently while his mouth touched mine. The kiss got stronger and more urgent, and I reacted by pressing closer to him because I wanted more. I felt waves of warmth going through me with each of his kisses. He ran his hand down my arm, and his fingers lightly touched my skin, giving me shivers the whole time. His touch was soft, but it was meant to hurt. I knew we had done something wrong, but it didn't scare me. It made me feel good. Over the course of the night, we found ourselves back in each other's arms, this time without any doubt or reluctance. There was a lot of time for us to enjoy each kiss. He caressed me as his hands moved over my body, and I could feel the heat between us rising with each second. We stayed warm together all night, and as the hours went by, our kisses got softer and more relaxed. When our mouths touched, it felt like we were talking about something more than words could say. I knew he wanted me and cared about me because of the way he kissed me. We didn't just have a brief moment. This was real and ours. As we lay there in the dark, with our bodies pressed together, Justin's lips touched mine again in a soft, long kiss that felt like a promise. As he kissed me softly, he enjoyed every second. His hand cupped my face, and his thumb ran over my cheek. I gave him the same soft kiss back, and I felt calm. "I'm glad we found each other," I whispered against his lips, running my fingers along the line of his jaw. Justin smiled and put his face on top of mine. "Me too, Susan. More than you know." We stayed close to each other for the rest of the night, swapping soft kisses and cozy moments in each other's arms. Every kiss and touch made me feel like what we had was real, something rare and beautiful. I knew that no matter what the future held, we would face it together as I fell asleep in his arms. After that, the days on the farm seemed like they were just a dream. While we worked, there were now soft touches, shared smiles, and stolen kisses in every moment. Justin would brush my hand with his or sneak a quick kiss when no one was looking. There was a quiet fire in the air between us that was always just below the surface. After a long day, we chose to go for a walk through the fields as the sun went down one evening. The tall grass around us swayed in the cool breeze, and the sky was a bright pink and orange. As we walked, there was a relaxed silence between us. We knew what each other meant without having to say it. Once we got to the top of the hill, Justin stopped and pulled me close, putting his arms around my waist. He leaned in and kissed my lips slowly and for a long time. It was perfect how his warm body pressed against mine, how soft his lips were, and how he caressed my face. When we kissed in the dim light, time seemed to stop and the rest of the world seemed to fade away. He whispered, "I love you," against my lips. His voice was full of tears. As I kissed him back, tears came to my eyes and my heart swelled with happiness. "I love you too, Justin." As we stood there kissing under the setting sun, I knew that we would face many problems together. People around us might not have understood us, but we had found something special that we wanted to hold on to. I knew at that moment that real love was all that mattered. When we got back to the farm later, Justin's lips lingered on mine, and his hug made everything else go away. There was no outside world at that point. It was just the two of us, wrapped up in each other. The soft glow of the setting sun was around us, and he pulled me closer while his hands caressed my back. There was no doubt as we kissed slowly and deeply. The passion between us was just below the surface, ready to burst. Justin looked into my eyes and whispered, "I don't want this night to end." His voice was low and full of desire. The same thing happened to me. There was no denying the link between us, and all I wanted was for the night to go as it might. Every second that went by, the pull between us got stronger, making my heart race. A soft but meaningful whisper came back from me. "Then don't let it." He looked sad in his eyes and took my hand, leading me back to the home. He didn't say a word. Every step of the walk felt like it was going to last a long time. We had our hands together and were moving at the same time. When we got to the front door, the stars were above us, and the peace and quiet of the farm made our closeness even stronger. Justin turned to face me and gently shut the door after coming inside. His eyes showed something that wasn't said. They were honest and full of love. He walked up to me and cupped his hands around my face. He kissed me softly at first, then more firmly. I felt promises and confessions in his kisses, and I kissed him back with the same passion. It felt good to touch his hair as I pulled him closer. We stumbled into the bedroom with our bodies pressed together and our lips locked. The tension between us grew. Justin's hands moved all over my body. The way he touched me made me feel things I hadn't felt in a long time. His lips ran down my neck, and his breath felt warm against my skin. As the heat between us grew, I let out a soft sigh. In a blur, clothes were thrown away, and soon we were knotted up, skin to skin, and forgot about the outside world. His kisses got stronger and more passionate, and I kissed him back, running my hands over the curves of his body. There were no more barriers between us, so we could fully lose ourselves in the moment. Justin's touch on me was soft and full of desire. He carefully traced the curves of my body with his hands. His lips met mine in a deep kiss that moved in perfect time. Each kiss sparked a flame inside me that had been dormant for a long time. When I was wanted and loved so much, I had forgotten what it was like. As we moved together, it felt like we had done this 1,000 times before. Our bodies found a natural beat, and as we lost ourselves in each other, our breath got shallow. He put his hands on my hips and pulled me closer. I let out a soft moan as we became one, and all I could think about was how good it felt. At first, it was soft and slow, like we were enjoying every touch and moment. But soon, the need for speed grew, and neither of us could stop it. We touched, kissed, explored, and did all the other things couples do when they're in the mood. The night went on and on. Justin told me how much he wanted and cared for me through whispered words of love. His breath felt warm against my skin as he spoke. It was so hard for me to speak as I told him how much I loved him. It felt like nothing else was more important than this bond when we made love. Being passionate, honest, and kind all at the same time. Every kiss and caress made me remember that we had found something rare and beautiful, and I loved every moment. It felt like hours had gone by, but they did. We finally lay there together, twisted in the sheets and close to each other. I put my head on his chest and his arm wrapped around me. The steady rise and fall of his breathing calmed me. I felt very happy and said in a soft voice, "I never thought I'd feel this way again." I could feel my fingers making lazy circles on his skin. I felt Justin's lips on the top of my head for a moment before he said, "Neither did I." His voice was soft and emotional, and he said, "But I'm glad we found each other." His words made my heart swell, and I smiled. I looked up at him, and our eyes met in the dim light. That's when I knew we would face whatever came next together. We could not break the link we had made, and we could not go back on what we had shared. It was real and ours. We fell asleep in each other's arms as the night went on. The warmth of his body kept me safe. As he breathed slowly and softly, I fell asleep. It was the most peaceful sleep I had had in years. Even though I didn't know what would happen, I no longer feared it. I was shocked to find something beautiful and unexpected in Justin's love. It brought me back to life in ways I never thought possible. I knew that no matter what anyone thought or what problems we might face, we would face them together as lovers as I lay there. I wasn't by myself for the first time in a long time. I was in love again, and it was even better than I had hoped.